welcome to Retirement Ready TV, where we go in depth on all things retirement related. What does it take to make a successful and fulfilling retirement? And what are some of the mistakes that you can avoid? I'm Michelle Davidson, and with me today are Tim and Laura Schultz of Preservation Retirement Services, right here in Northeast Ohio, who have helped so many people realize their retirement dreams for so many years, and have once again invited us into their beautiful home this week. Are you ready for another great show?
We are. Welcome.
Always welcome, and welcome to you. We think of our clients at Preservation Retirement Services like
family. Sure.
Yeah, we get to know them and their dreams for retirement. And so we thought, we'd like to invite you, our viewers, into our home. So welcome. We're here at our lovely lake house. Happy to have you.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us into your home. So up first, we're going to tease a little segment that you love, the light board.
Love it. We're going to talk about managing risk and risk tolerance, and we're going to use an airplane analogy. We're going to go on a flight today, going up and then going down.
Safely.
Hopefully.
And then,
Safely.
Of course, we have a segment later on in the show that's for the women.
Yes, in our Women Get Retirement Ready segment today, we're going to talk about what to do if you and your spouse have a different risk tolerance. How do you manage that?
And a lot of times they are very different.
They are. It's true.
And then you have a fun segment. I know you love the title.
Annuities can do what?
Annuities can do what?
We're going to talk about annuities, how they can be a hedge against inflation today. I'm going to explain it.
All right. Well, today we're talking about being diversified. This could mean being diversified in your 401k plan options, or it could mean a diversified personal portfolio of investments. So what does that mean to both of you?
Yeah, it all starts with risk tolerance, doesn't it, Laura? When everybody comes into our office of Preservation Retirement Services, whether it's in our North Olmsted or our Beechwood office, we think about risk tolerance first, and then we think about income. Because how much money do we need to have safe is going to ultimately determine how much money we need to allocate for income and safety.
We can think of diversification in two ways. One is the types of investments that you have. We think of three buckets of money: emergency funds, liquid cash in the bank, safe investments where the principal is protected in some manner. That could be a fixed or fixed index annuity, government bond, CD, something like that. And then money in the market, your at-risk money. They all have pros, cons, strings attached. And there's no perfect one.
The emergency funds are important if things like your wash and dryer go up. Like I did for us this recently. Like these are the things that you don't want to have to liquidate your retirement assets to have the money to purchase things that just happen in life.
And then the second way we think about diversification is within each of those buckets. So for example, we hope that everybody has some money in the stock market. How much depends on your personal risk tolerance, which is, as Tim said, question number one that we ask. But within that investment portfolio in the market, we want to have diversification. Yep. Sometimes folks come in and they have 100% of their 401k allocated into their company stock that they
see that a lot, actually.
And that's not very diversified. Should they have some if they believe in their company? Of course, 100% of your portfolio, or people with 100% of their portfolio in one single mutual fund.
See that a lot.
We want to have diversification, international stocks, U.S. stocks, dividend producing stocks. Yep. Maybe we want to use bonds. And then within your safe money portfolio, maybe diversification. If you have a fixed index annuity, we want to make sure that within the indexes, that's diversified. So, there's different ways to think about diversification, but it is very important to make sure, especially as you're approaching retirement, you don't have all your eggs in one basket, whether that's one stock or all your money in the market typically.
Okay, walk us through the process. A person with a significant amount of assets makes an appointment with you to review their retirement plan. How do you go about protecting those assets?
Yeah, a lot of clients are surprised. We actually do some retirement planning with them in the very first meeting, that retirement ready review, when they come in for that second opinion. And we sit down and we kind of reverse engineer how much money we need to have that's safe that we can set aside for income, right, Laura?
Yeah, it starts, as we always say, with us listening.
Yep.
First of all, we do a risk quiz with our clients to find out how comfortable they are with market risk, the downside particularly. Are they comfortable, getting close to retirement if their portfolio went down 20 or 30%? Some folks that we work with are super conservative, and that's okay. Some folks we work with are super aggressive. They don't want to use an annuity. They just would rather ride the market. That's okay too. And then we ask them a lot of questions about income to see, do they have that income gap in retirement? Do we need to draw $2,000, $3,000 a month from their portfolio? As Tim said, if they do, we reverse engineer and we use that safe money bucket that we were talking about a few minutes ago. We figure out how much do we put in that safe money bucket that we know whether the market is up, down, or sideways, they are going to get that paycheck. We have to engineer paychecks in retirement.
We do.
Don't blame the messenger, but your paycheck
They stop when you retire.
And for most folks, Social Security pensions aren't necessarily enough to cover their monthly budget.
They never were, really.
So we figure out, okay, we need to put 20% of your portfolio, 30% of your portfolio into a safe money strategy so that we know, no matter what, that $2,000-$3,000 a month is coming in for the foreseeable future, and they don't have to worry about the market. Then whatever's left, that 70-80%, let's have that be in the market. Let's have that be growing in a diversified portfolio within the market.
Some risky, some not so much.
Correct. And with their personal risk tolerance. But that's how we think about diversification holistically.
Because if someone at retirement has enough income coming in to cover those expenses every month, that's how you get rid of all that anxiety that people have, and that number one fear of, do I have enough money? And, when the market goes down, will it affect me? We can take care of that by reverse engineering and figuring that out.
And diversifying at the end of the day.
Diversifying is key.
The best investment managers out there cannot control that the market is going to go down at some point in time. It's not a matter of if it's going to go down. It is when. And when, and nobody knows. Mm-hmm. And so we have to prepare now with diversification for those years where the market is down. So we're not setting up for our clients to have to take out $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in a year when the market's down 20%. We just don't want that to happen.
That's how you get hurt.
So if you suggest reallocating their investments, what happens next?
We come up with a plan.
We do.
Mm-hmm. We're always talking about the plan. But for most folks, we sometimes roll money out of a 401k. That's called an in-service distribution. Yeah. And then we can allocate it from there. Or we're rolling money from an IRA that they already have. But the idea is we come up with a plan on the safe money side. Tim typically handles that for our clients, and a plan for the money in the market. What type of strategies are we going to use to make sure that market portfolio is diversified?
Like she said.
I love it. All right. So let's take a quick commercial break so we can get started on all that great information. We'll be right back.
Just living the dream right now.
Yeah, that's the one thing we really want to do is travel and adventure in our retirement. And we weren't even sure before what we'd be able to do. But after partnering with Tim and Laura, it's like, okay, we're good. Tim and Laura were able to visually show us where it would go and how it would grow. We'd be able to actually have fun and leave a legacy for the kids. Everything that they do is, pinpointed to us.
Preservation Retirement Services. Get retirement ready. Call today.
And we're back with Retirement Ready TV with Tim and Laura Schultz of Preservation Retirement Services right here in Cleveland. And we're talking about diversification. How often do you think people should be looking at rebalancing their investments?
That's a great question, Michelle. We get that all the time. For us, we always say Preservation Retirement Services is a 2-for-1 special. I am your safe money advisor. I do things that are safe, Medicare, Social Security. Laura is an attorney and a wealth advisor. So on my end, Laura, mainly for annuities are safe. Everything we use has no fees. And really, they need to be looked at once a year. And we always meet with our clients once a year to rebalance and shift around how we want to invest those allocations. But your situation is different.
It is. And I think it depends whether we mean reallocating a portfolio or rebalancing an investment plan.
Similar, but very different.
Yeah. So rebalancing an investment plan, meaning within the portfolios that we've decided on as our strategy for investments in the market, we want to rebalance those relatively frequently, typically at least quarterly. We're shifting a little bit, not making whole changes, not scrapping the investment plan, but shifting to, move your investments towards things in the market that are doing a little better, or if something gets a little out of whack, we want to look at that at least quarterly. In terms of reallocating your entire portfolio, we always look at folks' risk tolerance every year.
We do.
We check in, if they're...
A big annual review that we do.
Annual review. Yeah. We often have smaller quarterly reviews with folks to talk about how investments are performing. But that big annual review, we check in our clients on their risk tolerance. Has something changed with their risk tolerance? If not, we don't want to abandon the strategy that we put in place. We don't want to react emotionally to the market. And so at least, we check in on risk tolerance annually. And then when there's a big life event, death of a spouse, divorce, birth of a child, retirement.
Those are the big ones.
We do want to check in on reallocation, because maybe if you retire, we do need income, like Tim was talking about earlier. And so we want to shift more of the portfolio into a safe money retirement strategy to generate that income stream. Or maybe if with the death of a spouse, somebody becomes more conservative. Sure. You're worried more about market loss.
It happens all the time.
Same idea. Yeah. So annually check on your own risk tolerance to make sure nothing's changed, but big life events, it's important to check into.
Big.
It all makes sense. So your age and personal situation and plans determine your risk tolerance, and it kind of helps them be comfortable allocating new resources.
Yeah, got it.
As you progress through life, everybody tends to want to be more conservative, right? In your 20s and 30s, you want to go for it, right? And put all the money in the market, because if the market drops, you got years for it to recover. And the market always does come back. We know that. The market doesn't just do this though, right? It does this kind of thing. Yeah. That's called volatility. So, but as you get closer to retirement or in retirement, most people want to pull back and preserve what they have. That's why I named the company 15 years ago, Preservation Retirement Services. That's what we specialize in.
And that's why we say when you move to that phase of your life that you're pulling money out, you have that monthly income need.
Making those distributions.
You just want to spend money in retirement, right? You want to go on trips and you want to make improvements to your house.
Yeah.
All of those
I like
things.
the trips better, but yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. When you move to that phase where you're pulling money out, having a portfolio that's 100% in the stock market, we love the market. Yep. You can get great growth out of there. It has great liquidity, but it's hard for a portfolio that's 100% in the market to withstand the stress of income in years where the market is down, right? Because when you're pulling money out, you're no longer adding money in when the market's down. You're just pulling money out and the market's down 20%. That can be devastating.
It's a double whammy, yes.
So that's why thinking about your portfolio differently, reallocating at or near retirement for the purpose of income generation can make a lot of sense.
Exactly.
So for those folks out there that are thinking about it, can they connect with you?
They sure can. Just give us a call. Our phone number is 440-345-6900.
You can call and leave us a voicemail or text the word READY to that number. We'd love to send you a link to download your Retirement Ready Toolkit. Call us, connect, and we can have a conversation about how your portfolio is allocated.
Go to our website, retirewithprs.com, retirewithprs.com. So many ways to get a hold of us.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, Tim is going to take us to the Retirement Ready Light Board and show us his artistic skills when his landing an airplane risk analysis plan. It goes visual, right? We'll have fun. I know you will. We'll be right back.
Women have a lot to be proud of. We get a lot done, but too many times we take care of ourselves last. If you're married, there's a good chance you'll outlive your spouse and all the financial decisions will fall to you. If you're single, it will be up to you to fund your entire retirement. That's a lot to carry by yourself. I'm Laura Schultz, and at Preservation Retirement Services, we can help to take some of that off your shoulders. It's time to put yourself first for once. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Welcome back to this week's segment of the Retirement Ready Light Board. And in today's show, Laura and I have been talking a lot about diversification. So I figured during this week's segment of the Retirement Ready Light Board, I can do another analogy of a plane landing. Analogies are good for me because I'm visual and it lets me draw. So with your permission, I'm just going to draw right on your television screen today. And we're going to talk about the analogy of a plane landing and how that affects you and how that pertains rather to you in retirement planning. So let's begin with a plane. Oh, how about this? Let's do the plane like this. Here's our plane, right? And here, the plane, here's the clouds, right? We got our nice fluffy clouds. And the plane, when you go up, you come down, right? And so when we're coming down and we're landing, now I am not a pilot by any means, but I would imagine a pilot, when they're looking to land, the pilot has to turn knobs and toggle switches. And when you're landing, he's pulling back on the throttle, right? To have a soft landing. Well, in retirement planning, to get a soft landing into retirement, it really has to do with diversification, right? As we approach retirement, as we get into retirement, and this is your, kind of lifeline, right? As you're progressing through life, and here eventually we have retirement. As we progress through life and we get into retirement, we want to pull back on our risk. Right, Laura and I always talk about at Preservation Retirement Services, the 3 buckets of money. You need to have money that's in your emergency funds, right? Just for life's emergencies. You need to have money that is safe. And of course, you need to have money in the market exposed to risk that you can get the best gains. But as we're approaching retirement, we need to pull back and shift some more money potentially to safe investments. This is a good time to talk about my story. And if you know me, if you've heard me speak publicly, I talk about my life. And when I created Preservation Retirement Services 15 years ago, it really had to do with a moment in my life when my mother passed away from breast cancer, and she died and she left me $200,000 of life insurance. At the time, I wasn't a retirement planner. I owned a mortgage company and I was helping people move into their dream homes, and I loved what I did. But when my mother died and she left me that $200,000, I went to my retirement planner and he told me put it all in the market. He didn't talk to me about risk, diversification, how comfortable I was with my risk levels. And that was right before 2008. And out there, 2008, what happened in the fall of 2008, that real estate bubble bursting. After I put that $200,000 in the market, in 2 short months, the $200,000 that I put in went from 200, 180, 160, 140, 120. I lost $80,000 of my mother's money. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that remember 2008, that last traditional recession, and they lost a lot of money. And that is the worst case scenario. So imagine, let's move forward. Imagine if you have a nice life, you're saving, you're planning on retirement. The worst case scenario is right before, or heaven forbid, right in or right after retirement, we have another recession and you are not properly diversified. If you haven't pulled back on your risk, right, as you're coming into retirement, if you haven't toggled those switches or turned those knobs and pulled back on that lever and reduce the risk like a pilot when they're coming in for a soft landing, it could be devastating. We're going into the sequence of returns now, right? When the market goes down, and then if you have to take money from your accounts, when the market is down, that has a double whammy against you. Remember, when you're in or approaching retirement, losses will hurt more than gains help. Think about that for a second. We talk about this all the time with clients coming in and seeing us, Laura and I. Losses hurt more than gains help. If you have 20, 30, 40 years of working and you're in that accumulation phase and you're building up your portfolio and you're accumulating, when you get into that retirement phase, before right into it, you are now in that distribution phase, right? There's no more paychecks coming in. We need to take what you have and use that money to get you through retirement. You need to make sure that you're properly diversified, that you have your risk under control, and that you pull back on the levers just like the pilot when they're approaching retirement. It's all about diversification. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to leave you with a couple more fluffy clouds here. Looks like this plane has landed safely. I hope you land safely as well in your retirement. I'll see you next week.
It's time for our segment, Women Get Retirement Ready, where we take a question submitted by one of our female viewers. Okay, so obviously this is something that is truly important to you, and we have a lot of fun with it too.
We do. No, we really at Preservation Retirement Services want to be a listening ear to our female viewers and our female clients as well. Because what I've heard from women over and over, and same thing, Tim heard the same thing before I even joined Preservation Retirement Services. There's a disconnect out there sometimes between females and their retirement planners, their retirement professional. Why that is, I can't exactly say. I think sometimes it's the listening thing. And I'm sure you've had this experience, Michelle, as well. You go into some situation that involves finances with your husband, and the person that you're talking to, whether that be somebody that's going to give you a mortgage or a car loan, they look at your husband when they ask all the financial questions.
You're right.
And it's almost like you're not even in the room. Have you had that experience? I think most women have. Most women have. And so, a lot of women say, we have a financial advisor, but they never look at me. They never ask what's important to me. They never ask if I understand. They just look at my husband and say, right. And I think that's borne out by the statistics, which are that 70% of women, when they are widowed, change financial advisors. Because again, they just didn't feel like they were important, that their voice was being heard. So we want to hear what women have questions about, what's important to them, what's on their minds, their hopes, dreams, and fears about retirement.
Let's hear from Sharon.
Hi, Laura. My husband is several years younger than I am and has a pretty different risk tolerance. How should we balance with that situation?
That's a great question, Sharon, and that's just what we were talking about. It's okay to have a different risk tolerance from your spouse. That's okay. We see that that's probably the case 9 times out of 10. So there's a couple different ways to deal with it. One is to have each person deal with their accounts on their own with their own risk tolerance, so that if the wife is more conservative, her accounts are more conservative. Or if the husband is more conservative, his accounts are more conservative. And whoever's more aggressive, their accounts are aggressive. Or it's taking a combined approach and saying, okay, overall, where can we invest your portfolio so that when we look at things holistically, everybody is comfortable? Because what we're talking about risk tolerance today on the show and market volatility, at the end of the day, we have to be comfortable with the highs and the lows. So you should be getting to a place where someone's listening to you about your risk tolerance, and everybody, husband and wife, is comfortable with the overall risk tolerance of their family's portfolio.
And we're listening to you because you can actually send in your question, right?
Absolutely. Call us, leave it on the voicemail, text question to 440-345-6900. We want to make sure that your question is answered. So however you get it to us, just get it to us.
Welcome to Annuities Can Do What? We're doing this segment because we found that conversations of annuities can be quite polarizing. People have strong opinions about them. Most of the time, it's because of misinformation or a lack of correct knowledge. So I'm here in this segment every week to demystify annuities and educate and maybe share some knowledge with you. Now, before we get into this week's topic, I do want to share some basic annuity information with you. So just like every week, we're going to call it Tim's super abbreviated Annuity 101 class. So what is an annuity? An annuity is a contract between you and an insurance company where you give them a lump sum of money up front for a fixed period of time for a contractual determined rate of return or income stream in the future. Right? That's why annuities can be confusing. So let's try to explain it. As you can see, this is our annuity spectrum that Laura and I use. It's a graphic we talk about with everybody that comes into our office here at Preservation Retirement Services. Try to explain annuities. There are 3 types of annuities only, really. Now, under each annuity, there's a bunch of different annuities. Underneath them are subsections. We can get to that on another show. But under these 3 main annuities, there's fixed, variable, and fixed index in the middle. So a fixed annuity is just really simple. It's a guaranteed rate of return for a certain duration. Think of it like a CD on steroids. The opposite end of the spectrum is that variable annuity. Now, we're not fans of variable annuities at all here at PRS because they have the highest fees out of any investment product out there. Your money's actually in the market, so it can go down and it will go down if the market goes down. And it's, we believe that money should be in the market. Don't get us wrong, but we believe that the money should be managed, lower your fees, and not be wrapped up with that long surrender schedule in a variable annuity. But the middle one is what we like. It's a fixed index annuity. It's kind of a hybrid of the two. A fixed index annuity usually has no fees. You can never lose any money. So when the market goes down, the insurance company covers all the losses. But when the market goes up, which we like, you share in the gains with the insurance company. You take some of the interest and they take some. It's based off of a cap or a participation rate. You lock in your gains every year also, which is super important with a fixed index annuity. Now, annuities are not bad, particularly for those individuals that are conservative and have a low risk tolerance or have that income gap in retirement. Now, in those circumstances, we feel that annuities can be a valuable tool for part of your overall retirement plan. The problem is there's just too many annuity sales reps out there that are overselling them because that's all they're selling. Unlike Preservation Retirement Services, where we offer both insurance solutions and managed money in the market. They're selling the wrong annuity to the wrong person for the wrong purpose. Listen, are annuities perfect? No, but no one investment solution is. That's why we believe in diversification. Now, the downside is that they're not fully liquid. However, you do get access to typically up to 10% of your annuity's value each and every year without penalty. Let's get into today's topic. Annuities can do what? Well, they can provide a hedge against market volatility. And in your 401k or your 403b, your 457, your TSP, your Ohio Deferred Comp, all those employer-sponsored plans, a lot of people feel like to diversify, they use stocks and bonds. And bonds they think are usually safe. But we found out in 2022 that when the market was down, the bonds were also down, and that's what hurt a lot of people. Well, truly, if you want to diversify for safety, you put some of your monies into a fixed index annuity. And when the market does go down, you cannot lose. The insurance company covers all your losses. The other thing that's very important about properly diversifying, we feel here at Preservation Retirement Services, and having some money into a fixed index annuity is that when the market is down, you can leave that money alone, wait for the market to come back up, and then you have that pot of safe money that you can pull from if you need to take a distribution, wait for the market to come back on your other monies. Hope that makes sense. See you next week.
Okay, we still have enough time to talk about the Retirement Ready Roadmap, which is such a wonderful part of how Preservation Retirement Services works. You have a tried and true process. So tell us how it works. ROAD.
Yeah, we're really proud of it. We created this to help clients kind of navigate their way through retirement, right, Laura?
Yeah, and as we say, it always starts with our clients' goals and objectives, what's important to them in retirement.
What is their dream retirement? We always talk about.
Once we know the answer to that question, we work through the roadmap. So starting with R, and that's reviewing the risks that could affect their retirement. We've been talking about one big one today, market volatility.
That is a big one.
But there's other one, rising taxes, healthcare expenses, and how expensive long-term care is, for example. We need to think about those and plan proactively, not just wait for them to happen and then react.
O stands for optimize. Optimizing taxes and legacy is what we would think of. And it has to do when people pass away, and then it all happens. When we leave that money to our children or nieces or nephews, whomever, do we want to leave it taxable or tax-free? That's something we need to talk about with all of our clients.
And make sure that estate plan is in place too.
It's super important, right?
A is what we've been talking about all day today, allocating assets. That means creating a diversified portfolio. As we said, first we figure out our client's risk tolerance, and then we create a portfolio that reflects that in their income need, which brings us to D.
Last but not least, D, distribute. We're talking about distributing income at retirement. And when you retire and that paycheck goes away, it's up to you, the client, to manufacture those paychecks. So we need to figure out which accounts to pull money from to get that income.
From an investment perspective and from a tax perspective,
both.
So for those folks at home that want to apply the process to them,
we love that.
How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, we would love that. Just give us a call today, 440-345-6900.
You can call and leave us a voicemail. You can text the word READY to that number, and you'll receive a link to download your Retirement Ready toolkit. But start the conversation, that Retirement Ready review, so that we can help you figure out how to allocate your portfolio and be diversified.
You can always go to our website, retirewithprs.com, retirewithprs.com. So many ways to get a hold of us.
Sadly, that's our time for the day.
Already?
It's done. But we will see you next week. Have a great day, everybody.